So I'm sorry for the late post here today. It's a heavy work week for me. I'm working more days than I usually work, and when I work, my day's really a 15-hour day where I'm 15, 16-hour day where I'm gone from home. I get up at quarter to 3 in the morning, and I leave about 3:30. And if traffic's good and it's a good day, I'm back by 6. Usually not back that early. And so I've been going to bed a lot just between 7 and 7:30. I'm tired. And I just forgot to do this last night. And then I get up at 2:30 or 3 in the morning, and I just don't have time to usually do this in the morning. So it has to wait till I get home. So sorry for the late post here. I'll knock out a couple, so there will be another one ready right away for tomorrow. Today in Judges 16, we are wrapping up the account of Samson. And this is where Delilah does come in. Samson went to Gaza, where he saw a prostitute and went to bed with her. When the Gazites heard that Samson was there, they surrounded the place and waited in ambush for him all that night at the city gate. They kept quiet all night, saying, "Let's wait until dawn. Then we will kill him." But Samson stayed in bed only until midnight. Then he got up and took hold of the doors of the city gate, along with the 2 gateposts, and pulled them up, bar and all. He put them on his shoulders and took them to the top of the mountain overlooking Hebron. Some time later, he fell in love with a woman named Delilah, who lived in the Sorek Valley. The Philistine leaders went to her and said, "Persuade him to tell you where his great strength comes from, so we can overpower him, tie him up, and make him helpless. Each of us will then give you 1,100 pieces of silver." Just a little interlude here. That right there is an interesting piece, because you see the children's books and children's Bibles will have Samson as a muscle-bound guy, and while his strength may be amazing, I mean, lifting that city gate and carrying it still, if he looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger in the heyday of Arnold Schwarzenegger or something like that, they wouldn't have asked where his strength came from. I think Samson probably looked a lot more like you and me. And that's why they asked. It's like, where does the strength come from? He doesn't look like anything. So Delilah said to Samson, back to the text here, "Please tell me, where does your great strength come from? How could someone tie you up and make you helpless?" Samson told her, "If they tie me up with 7 fresh bowstrings that have not been dried, I will become weak and be like any other man." The Philistine leaders brought her 7 fresh bowstrings that had not been dried, and she tied him up with them. While the men in ambush were waiting in her room, she called out to him, "Samson, the Philistines are here." But he snapped the bowstrings as a strand of yarn snaps when it touches fire. The secret of his strength remained unknown. Then Delilah said to Samson, "You have mocked me and told me lies. Won't you please tell me how you can be tied up?" He told her, "If they tie me up with new ropes that have never been used, I will become weak and be like any other man." Delilah took new ropes, tied him up with them, and shouted, "Samson, the Philistines are here." But while the men in ambush were waiting in a room, he snapped the ropes off his arms like a thread. Then Delilah said to Samson, "You have mocked me all along and told me lies. Tell me how you can be tied up." He told her, "If you weave the 7 braids on my head into the fabric on a loom." She fastened the braids with a pin and called to him, "Samson, the Philistines are here." He awoke from his sleep and pulled out the pin with the loom and the web. "How can you say I love you," she told him, "when your heart is not with me? This is the 3rd time you have mocked me and not told me what makes your strength so great." And as we read this section, I'm sure you'll shake your head as much as I do and just wonder. Because she nagged him day after day and pleaded with him until she wore him out, he told her the whole truth and said to her, "My hair has never been cut, because I am a Nazirite to God from birth. If I am shaved, my strength will leave me, and I will become weak and be like any other man." When Delilah realized that he had told her the whole truth, he sent this message, or pardon me, she sent this message to the Philistine leaders: "Come one more time, for he has told me the whole truth." The Philistine leaders came to her and brought the silver with them. Then she let him fall asleep on her lap and called the man to shave off the 7 braids on his head. In this way she made him helpless, and his strength left him. Then she cried, Samson, the Philistines are here. When he awoke from his sleep, he said, I will escape as I did before and shake myself free. But he did not know that the Lord had left him. Just an amazing, amazing account here. Then the Philistines seized him and gouged out his eyes. They brought him down to Gaza and bound him with bronze shackles, and he was forced to grind grain in the prison. But his hair began to grow back after it had been shaved. Now the Philistine leaders gathered together to offer a great sacrifice to their god Dagon. They rejoiced and said, Our God has handed over our enemy Samson to us. When the people saw him, they praised their God and said, Our God has handed over to us our enemy who destroyed our land and who multiplied our dead. When they were in good spirits, they said, Bring Samson here to entertain us. So they brought Samson from prison, and he entertained them. They had him stand between the pillars. Samson said to the young man who was leading him by the hand, Lead me where I can feel the pillars supporting the temple so I can lean against them. The temple was full of men and women. All the leaders of the Philistines were there, and about 3,000 men and women were on the roof watching Samson entertain them. He called out to the Lord, Lord God, please remember me. Strengthen me, God, just once more. With one act of vengeance, let me pay back the Philistines for my 2 eyes. Samson took hold of the 2 middle pillars supporting the temple, and leaned against them, one on his right hand, the other on his left. Samson said, Let me die with the Philistines. He pushed with all his might, and the temple fell on the leaders and all the people in it, and those he killed at his death were more than those he had killed in his life. Then his brothers and his father's whole family came down, carried him back, and buried him from Zorah and Eshtaol in the tomb of his father Manoah. So he judged Israel 20 years. Judges 16, and the end of the account of Samson. And I've not been one much for commentary. I'm mostly reading the text, but it just is hard not to comment about the account of Samson. Again, as I mentioned when we started this section, when you're a kid, especially a boy, Samson's just awesome to read about, and his strength, and so he's got a superhero-like quality. He's a He-Man, he's a Superman, Spider-Man character in the Bible. But as an adult, you read it, and it's like, and the fact that he's mentioned in Hebrews 11, which is what people often nickname the Hall of Faith, where they give, the author of Hebrews gives a great account of heroes of the faith and great tasks they did. And Samson's mentioned not in detail, but in passing. Not to mention Samson and other names. He just spits out a few at a time there. And you read this account then as an adult now, and you're comprehending it, and it's like, why? What? He didn't seem admirable. His parents seemed faithful to the Lord, but Samson went after foreign women, prostitutes, seemed to have a lot of selfish motivation. Even in his death, it wasn't, Lord, for your glory and for the kingdom. It was, Lord, give me vengeance for my 2 eyes. Just an interesting account. And I guess in one sense, one that gives me hope. I think it's easy for us to assess ourselves and not think highly of ourselves, and that's a good thing. But you read that Samson's in Hebrews 11, and you think, well, if he's in there, maybe I've got hope, because he's a strange bird. It's a strange category. One day I'd love to do a really good study on him, and I feel like there's got to be some good lessons in there that I have not heard through the different studies of Samson that I've heard from different pastors. But anyway, that's the wrap up on Samson. We got 5 chapters left to go in Judges, and they are wild and ugly, and it's honestly, it's a book with just a lot of ugliness in it. It's a strange book. You don't want your life to be like so much of the characters in this book. But thanks for joining me tonight. Thanks for your patience in this particular video coming out, and hope to see you tomorrow. Thanks.